this video, I will be walking you through the glorious process I use while drawing hands. We will begin with a simple strategic walkthrough in Photoshop, and then we'll morph it into the masterful drawing footage as so effortlessly filmed for your ass. This video reeks of maturity and is speckled with words of wisdom. So, without further ado, Guidetti Sexy Beast along with Old Goat. And what we're going to do in this, I'm going to break down exactly what I'm looking at first before you actually look at the drawing. That way you're going to absorb more in the drawing as I go through, and I will explain this and things will become more clearly. I will do hands in different positions in the future. First thing we do, we mark our dimensions, the width and the height. I'm going to start with the joints. Now, it's important, the mentality is always important in this. You want to be treating this as if it is a live model that's going to be moving, because the idea is to get it in quickly but accurately, right? So the first thing we do, we mark the wrist, and then we're going to go through and say, okay, how long is this hand right there? All right, so we're marking these points, and it also helps to have essentially the shin, which this is, in fact, the shin, apparently, blocked in, okay? Now, from here, what we're going to do, it's not enough just to put these points in. Double and triple check these points, make sure they're accurate, and then from here, we can use these points to get other points right here. And so the idea is, and I'm going to take this out, is to see this whole shape right here, everything all at once. And so you want to be relating all these points together, right? Everything needs to be related. And so once we might move this point here, we might move it back or whatever, but we're constantly shifting and we're constantly comparing all these points together. And I'm saying this, you might be thinking, okay, fine, but this is one of the keys to drawing. It really is. It's extremely important. And it's good to make it a habit, because also what that's doing is it's preventing you from getting piecemeal and just looking at a little part and then going here and going around like that. Instead, you're always training yourself to look at the whole thing, which is really key in drawing and painting. This applies to painting as well. So from here, what we want to do, we want to squint down. And what that does, it simplifies it so we don't see all these bumps and stuff. And we're just going to go through. I'm going to go from joint to joint, essentially. You want to break the body down in joints. All right. So I'm going to go from here and here, right? And so when we have these points, and I do kind of a pencil tap here, right? I'm tapping 1, 2, 3, 4, tapping those points together, just measuring and feeling it out. And then from there, once we have it ready, then we can go and block it in. It's all right if it cuts off a little bit there. That's okay. We're squinting down. We're trying to get angles and links along with point relationships, okay? Then from here, what we're going to do, I have the choice of, like, it might help at first, especially if the model's moving a lot, just to cut through this area right here. And then from this point right here, kind of go like this. Like, this is totally viable. You can totally do that. So if you can, it's also a good idea. You can also go through and you have the option of putting this angle in, right? So we can put that angle in, and we can block this piece in right here, and then from here, squint down, and I even do this like from the beginning, like oftentimes, especially if it's a full figure, and it's up, this is how I will have it right there. This makes a lot of sense, because the model's moving, this is how we block in. So essentially what we want to do, we want to get the basic shape and get the points and the angles falling accurately, right? So we're going to keep it at this stage for a period of time. It's also a good idea at some point to mark this piece in right here, the thumb, and it's okay to go through and just kind of block it in, try to see where the base is. Go from joint to joint if you can, right? And just keep it very basic and simple, like your face. And then we're going to be good. You don't want to detail and spend all the time in the world on the angles, and you'll see that when I'm developing the drawing, because it's just, you're going to mess up. It's not going to be in the right place. You're trying to establish where it's going to be and see these relationships, that width, this to this, right? This whole length right here, all that stuff, right? I mean, This width and this width is extremely important in getting this entire shape right here, all right? Am I clear? All right, from this point, what we're going to do, once we think that these angles are correct, then we can go through and start hatching them out a little bit. We can start going and dividing these areas right here. So I might mark these points, try to establish this. This is hard to see because it fades off in the background. But we do essentially want to establish where the fingers meet the hands, right? One thing, I forget if I mentioned this, but it is important going from body part to body part. You want to be thinking you're drawing the entire body part. So we're thinking about the hand, but also we're thinking about the palm of the hand as well. You want to get this piece. You want to see these points to this point right here, and then understand these relationships because they're going to move, and so you have to keep track of that in mind. But think of this too. Blocking in basic, it moves. You just have to shift the lines a little bit. So in other words, if the hands fold in some, you might find that the pointer finger is in here. This finger came in, right? All of it comes in just a little bit, so then it'll look more, dang it, like this, right? As opposed to it coming out like that, right? So it might come in some, and you can make these shifts really fast in a live model situation. Right. So anyway, from this point right here, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but we're going to start breaking these points down. Now, it's very important to note that when you're going and breaking points down, let me draw this a little bit more clearly so you can see. Dang it. When we're drawing these points in, we're saying, okay, from here to here, how long is it? How long is it compared to here, here, here? So I'm constantly going between these with my eye and then flashing up here, seeing this point, flashing back here, seeing this point, and then going through from, maybe from here to here and seeing this, the length from, this point to here. All these things I am doing really fast. I'm not necessarily drawing them in, but sometimes when you're watching me draw, you might see me tapping my pencil, and that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm trying to get these relationships. So this is how we would block the finger in like that. We're trying to get the points, and we're trying to get angles in space correct in relationship to the other angles and points in space, right? So that's the idea. We're trying to see all of this stuff all at once. What was I doing? Control A? Why is this thing not coming off? Undo. Do. All right, and we're going to do the same thing for all these other points. And I'm not going to draw this out for you. You get the idea. Now, once we have this basic block in, then from here it's important to simplify the shadows. And again, we should be squinting at all times. It simplifies things, so it makes us less confused. We're less likely to piecemeal and really get detailed with it in the beginning. We're more likely to establish the larger shapes, which is what we're trying to do. That is, in fact, the goal. And then we're going to block the shadow shapes in, and I'll show you how to do that right here. Now, I went and refined this just a little bit because you want to break those points down, right? So, in other words, we had these points coming through like this right here, these points here, and it was kind of crossing through the hand. Those, assuming that they're accurate, that's when you go and you start hatching them out, breaking them down just a little bit. That's what you do. And then we can start going and erasing that at that point, and then going through and adding some of those other lines, but always relating to them each other. Now, when we squint down very softly, this is a soft transition right here, and this is how it looks when we're blocking, and this is soft right here, and we're just sculpting these points out. So we're squinting down, and we're just sculpting these angles, right, and marking these points right here. And it's also important to know, I think I forgot to do this, but you can get these points in right along here a little bit quicker. Now, granted, right here there's not that point. Right here it is a little bit more defined as the shadow, so that's what we're going through. Right here, this is very soft, so we can go through and just very basic, just like we did the shadow shapes, or rather the main shape. You can block the shadow shapes in nice and basic. We don't need to go and detail everything. This point right along here, I know I put this point in here, but it's important, I think, especially around this base. Like this point right here makes sense. This makes sense. It's good to establish the anatomy, so there's nothing wrong with marking it, but you can also squint down because this area essentially blends in all together right here, right? But so you can squint down and you won't see this line, but it's good to establish it anyway for anatomical reasons, right? So we're just lightly going through, and then we're blocking, these shapes, and then once we shift these shapes around, we get them a little bit more, and then we can go and we can start breaking them down and detailing them. So that, my friends, is how we break the hands down. You are about to expertly witness. Right, boy? Yes. My dear peasant, drawing hands can be tough, and it is very easy to get discouraged, but do not fear, because you have me to guide you. I'm a master expert at literally everything I do without even trying, and I never get discouraged myself, so use me as a guiding light, a beacon of hope, if you will, to drawing excellence. Even though nobody believes in me right now, know that out of my compassion and boundless maturity, I do. So be at peace, you moron. You have come to the right place. We start the drawing, as we always do, with an explosion of glorious pencil marks that encapsulate the essence of expression of true human emotion and ethereal being. If that didn't make any sense, then good. That means you're already a step ahead of the modern art world of intellectual sods who like to talk with big words and beefy sentences that have no beef because they are probably all vegan buttholes who reek of pumpkin latte and soy tofu or whatever their pale and sickly mortal forms consume. Essentially, we always start off simple, and when looking at this footage, I think I could have benefited from keeping it in the earlier stages longer because, as you will see, a tragedy occurs later and I had to correct a bunch of things that I should have already corrected. Basically, keep it simple, get the proportions, and then slowly break down these proportions down into smaller details while striving to understand the form. By form, I'm referring to the anatomy and solidity of the hand. It's also important in the beginning and middle stages to draw without scarring the paper. I used a 2B pencil and drew light-handed at first. You want to be able to see the lines when you squint, but you don't want them to be so heavy-handed that you can't erase them. Sometimes people draw with harder pencils at first because it's easier to get lighter lines, but the problem is you run the risk of scarring the paper since a harder pencil can be harder to erase. I'm referring to H and above. Hands and, by extension, human beings are extremely complex, and one who is able to simplify the complex has a third nutsack up over the rest of the idiots who walk this cold plane of existence. You want to get in the habit of drawing things quickly and simply so you are able to do it in real life when the model or subject is moving. Don't treat reference like the static image that it is and slowly detail around the work without seeing the larger shape. It might make it look better to your eye at first, but you are an idiot. This method of development applies to everything. Landscape paintings in plein air or on scene will have shifting values depending on the time of day that you have to paint in quickly. You will need to be able to see the large shapes of the tree line to the sky to the ground and all the varying objects within them all at once so they relate to each other. Drawing hands is the same. You have the large shape, but then you have the fingers and the wrinkles, details, and shadows within. Most people who are just beginning drawing will try to detail everything from the beginning without focusing on the larger shapes because they're idiots. This is a habit we need to break. Squint down so you do not see all the individual details and curves, and force yourself to only see the large shape. Draw that shape as basic as possible while focusing on points and angles. You will be able to block in a moving hand much faster if you can pull this off. Throughout this entire drawing, I am trying to understand what I am drawing. You never want to simply copy the reference without understanding it. In real life, a major advantage we have is the ability to walk up to the subject and study it from various angles. The more information we have and the more we practice, the better the drawing will be. Essentially, a drawing represents the artist's understanding of what he is looking at. Notice how I walk all around the drawing and never stop in one place. The reason I do this is so I can work the entire drawing up at the same time and be able to relate each part to the other while I do, constantly comparing each part to the other. For example, if I had half the hand shaded in but the other half wasn't shaded in, then by the time I finish shading the rest, I might see the previous shaded part is incorrect when compared to the newly shaded part. By that point, it would take a lot of time correcting the shaded areas, and I would have wasted a lot of my time shading in the wrong place. Every time you add information into the piece, your eye should sweep around the drawing and reassess the proportions. Form this habit. You'll see things need to change and you can fix them immediately. A good draftsman is always able to draw joints well. This is because the joints have subtle angles in addition to them being placed properly. If you can't draw the large basic angles, how are you going to be able to draw the subtle and small angles? You won't be able to, idiot. At this point, the drawing has been built up enough where I am hatching out shapes from the lights and darks. Adding shading will change how you see things, and the more you develop the work, the more things you will see need to change. Like I said, I could have benefited from keeping the drawing simple for longer so as to correct the proportions, because it's around this point that I decided to take the drawing into my stream to finish it. I had waited several days, so my eye was rested, and I immediately saw things I needed to fix, and frankly, I was ashamed at some of the mistakes I made.
I'm just not cut out for it. I just want to draw and express myself.
I was hoping, as I always do, that my stream would not notice these things, but like a raging butthole idiot moron, I decided it would be smart to show the reference image. Proportions were off and the thumb was a bit too short, but I was content to let this slide because frankly I am extremely lazy. It also didn't help that Bebe had drawn a hand beneath the one I was working on because I had to freaking dodge it as I worked, but I managed. At first things were going well. I was happy, and I thought everyone else was too. But there was an ominous presence lurking just around the corner in the form of what I like to call the magical Dutch wonder. This evil being took notice of the thumb length and unknowingly issued a challenge I could not decline.
Sheer Curry says, too late to correct that thumb.
Why did you have to say that? Because now I have to prove you wrong.
The thumb was too short, and at this point, by principle, I had to freaking fix it. I managed, though I did lose some of the subtlety of the paper due to it being overworked. I raised the top of the hand a bit to add to the thumb in that direction, which also fixed the hand being too narrow. Essentially, I disposed of two turds with one flush. I still had some trouble getting the form back into the thumb, but frankly, I don't care anymore.
Look, I think if there's anything to take away from this video, it's just don't be an artist. It's the dumbest thing you could possibly do. Drawing hands is tough. That's only the tip of the iceberg. Kids, dreams do not come true. Just focus on making money in life. There's no such thing as love. Be an exec or something in the business world and stab people in the back quickly before they have a chance to stab you, because it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. I do live stream on Twitch and YouTube for some reason. And so if you have any questions about art or whatever, just you can summon me there. Guidetti, old goat, out.